rotate anyway.
You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Ohio.
You know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive, stiff arms to your jaw. We breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown. We taking it.
What's going on, Buckeye Boys Mafia? How we doing tonight, everyone? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we're going to discuss massive news surrounding Ohio State. I'm TG. That's my co-host Sean. How you doing, Sean?
Great. How you doing tonight, girl?
I'm doing well. I just today's kind of been a trying day, just because after I did a recording. After I got off, there's been some trying stuff that's just been going on after the fact. It's been unfortunate. But nah, other than that, it's been a good day.
Oh, good. Let's start talking some ball. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first, I'm going to ask you about the Will Howard versus Kyle McCord. Because for all the Buckeye boys in the chat here, me and Devin did a recording talking about the breakdown between Kyle versus Will, why we would choose Will Howard over Kyle McCord, and why everybody is debating this whole subject. And it starts with the fact that Kyle's ranked ahead of Will on NFL Dashboard. So, Sean, I want to get your opinion. And everybody else, you'll hear me and Devs when it comes out.
I'm going Will all the way. I just think the reason why some of these people might be kind of slanted towards McCord is because of his numbers. But if you look, Syracuse had no running game. They threw the ball so much more than what Ohio State did. I mean, that's about it. I mean, if they're just going by stats, but if you look, he didn't win any big games.
Nope.
He had one game where he threw 5 interceptions with 3 pick sixes. I mean, against Pittsburgh. I mean, I know
I'll say this. They used to be a top 20 defense every year, and I did say that in the video. They used to be a top 20 defense. Now they were 84th.
One thing that Will has over Kyle big time is leadership. He is a leader. Kyle shrinks it, kind of shrank when it comes time for the big moments. He kind of, buckled. Will doesn't. I mean, Will at least gives it his all. If he wins, he wins. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But he's not scared of the moment. He's kind of a gunslinger, but he's smart. And we've never had a quarterback throw for that high percentage. I mean, that high percentage before. Not JJ. I mean, not CJ. Not JJ, but CJ, Justin Fields, or Troy Smith, or any of the other quarterbacks. So his completion percentages, is skyrocket over everybody else. I think he had 7 games in the 80%?
7, yeah.
I mean, I don't think any other Ohio State quarterback, if I'm right, had more than 3. I don't think
5.
5? Okay. 5.
CJ had the record at 5. Justin was at 4, and everybody else had like 3.
But I mean,
and CJ also had the record with somebody else, a former Ohio State quarterback from back in like the 70s. So,
okay. Well, when they did throw his low percentage throws, it wasn't down the field. So
yeah.
I mean, so I can see that. I would go Will every time. I mean, he can run the ball. He's tough. He's more athletic than what you think he is. I mean, he's a heck of a lot more athletic than what Kyle McCord is.
Oh, of course.
I mean, can McCord sling the ball? Yeah, he can sling the ball, but he's not as accurate. He's not as tough, and he doesn't have the leadership ability. So, Will all the way.
Everybody in the Buckeye Boys will see me and Dev talk about it. We'll go into depth, and I broke down some numbers. I did start with their numbers and kind of break down as to why that really doesn't matter. So, you guys will hear my opinion on it, but I will say the biggest reason why I take Will over Kyle McCord is everything Sean just said and everything we talked about, because he's a better leader. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not going to have any problems. He does not shy away from moments. He thrives under pressure. Biggest thing.
And I know you're going to have a yo-yo or two say something about when he slid with the clock running out. If you go back and look, there was still 1 second left on the clock.
Yeah, it's just that Ohio State, like, trust me, the Big Ten knows it's true. It's just that they didn't want to they don't want to embarrass their officials any worse than they've been already, because they've been bad all year. You don't want to make it worse. So I was like, they just kind of brushed it off. So
But if you look last year when Kyle was on the team, and they would scan down to after a drive, he was sitting by himself. Will was riling up his teammates, talking to his teammates, getting them fired up. Kyle was always by himself. It just seemed like he was kind of a loner.
Yeah, here's what I will say about Kyle. I think he could have turned out to be better if his father wasn't such a douche and wasn't so involved. I'm not gonna lie, that is the biggest problem with Kyle. It's more so his father than it is him, and his father is the reason why he's like this, because he's so involved. And Ryan Day and the players and everybody else had enough. They don't personally hate Kyle. They don't have a problem with him. They have a problem with his daddy. So,
and if you look at it, he quit on the team. So,
but that's because his daddy. Because think about it, like his daddy has him at the point where they're trying to make Ryan Day give him more money than he should be earning, and instead Ryan Day told them to go kick rocks.
They wanted a guaranteed starting spot, and they're like, "No, you aren't."
That's what I'm talking about. Is money with the guaranteed starting spot.
If you think you're good enough to play, then if you think you're the best player, then you should have no problem with competition. And that just goes to show me that he was scared of competition. So he took an easy way out.
Yeah, and like I put on the screen with the dude on, man, he said Will is a Buckeye. Kyle didn't understand what it is to be a Buckeye, and that's what's so sad. Is Will's been here for 1 year, dude? You've been here for 3. How do you not understand it yet?
See, and that's what stinks the most, man. Is I wish we'd have had 4 years of Will Howard. The guy, in 1 year has become a Buckeye legend. It's all you want a player to be, to represent your school.
Like CJ Stroud, like Justin Fields, like Dwayne
exactly.
Haskins, JT Barry. I can go on and on.
Yep. Haskins, all those guys. He's a perfect Buckeye.
Yeah, that's actually what I love about it. So one of the massive things I want to talk about with the Buckeyes is the stupid comparison that came out. Now, obviously, we all know ESPN is doing this for clicks as well as everybody else, but they're predicting the Buckeyes to have a fall off. And the fall off they compared it to was FSU, Florida State.
Oh,
I'm being serious. I'm not even lying. They literally, someone compared it to that. Somebody compared it to that. And I see it. Are y'all high? Since when has Ohio State had a problem like this? Are y'all new to the fact that Ohio State, or you just not realizing they lose talent to the NFL every year? Like, I know y'all talk about it, but do you realize how much they lose? I don't get it.
Well, I can see where we might have a little bit of a setback to begin the year, but let's see how they're playing at the end of the year. Right. Do I think they're going to come out and just start throwing up 60, 70 points a game? Maybe not. Maybe it might take Julian a little bit to get his, his feet under him starting for the first time. But look at all the weapons he has around him. He doesn't have to be Superman. He's just to get the ball out to his playmakers and let them do their thing. All the receivers he has, Max Clare at tight end, James People, plus our freaking offensive line is going to be the strength of the team. So, he's going to have a great line. They're going to be able to run the ball. The defense, I think the defense is going to be maybe not as good as last year, but about as good. I just think it's going to be built differently than what we're used to.
I think it's going to be more versatile.
We're used to having that defensive line that was good against the run. And I think this defensive line is going to be more of a pass rush specialist type of team. They got the edge rushers that are great at rushing the passer. JT and Jack, were they good at rushing the passer? Yes, but they were better at stopping the run and setting the edge.
Yeah, well, when you think about again, we talk about with the pass rushing with those two, they were great pass rushers. It's just that the defensive game planning did not allow them to do more than what they could have been doing. Because we seen it when they had the handcuffs put off them, we saw what they were. They were elite pass rushers as much as they were run stuffers. It's just that they couldn't do it consistently due to the way that the defensive play calling was, like how everything was for the pass rush, which is what they hated. And before you go on, Sean, Tyler did have the question of, would you rather CJ or Will Howard if he stayed here for 4 years?
I would rather have Will. That's just because Will's my favorite. But I'm
gonna say CJ. I'm gonna say CJ just because he was better than Will at that point. But I think Will would have been starting at right after Common
Sure.
I mean, not Common Core, right after CJ Stroud, because he embodies everything Ryan Day wants in a quarterback. That's what I would say. Because I don't think Will was good at that point to be over CJ.
Sure, that's true.
Yeah, but he would have been, no doubt in my mind, he would have been the starter right after CJ.
I mean, the thing is these people, I mean, they need to look at Ohio State as a program. They have never had a time where they've had a dark period, where they've, taken that step back drastically like a Florida State did. I mean, Florida State didn't have the talent coming back that we have. I mean, we have been recruiting top 5 classes the last, 8
Florida
years
State never recruited at this level.
Exactly. So, I mean, they don't have the talent that we have. I mean, do we have some inexperienced talent? Yes. Might it take a little bit for them to get going? Maybe. But I don't see us losing. If we lose 2 games, then that's,
let's be real. That's kind of our floor.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, would it surprise me if we lost 2 games? No, but I could also see us dropping that game to Texas and later on losing a game in the playoffs. I mean,
yeah. And from Mike, I'm gonna tell you, we would have won with Kyle in 23 because there was no juggernaut at that time. Like, if we had to face a juggernaut, oh heck no. But because the playing field was more even, I think in 23 we could have. It's just that we would have had to have won in spite of McCord. Like, Common Core is the type of quarterback you can win with, but you also have to win in spite of him too. He's that tier 4 type quarterback. That's the big problem with him. So yeah, we would have won. It just would have been 23 because that was when we didn't have anybody that we had to worry about.
Unless we right, though, 4 years ago, Will probably wasn't ready, but I mean, I just wish we'd have had 4 years with Will Howard because I think that would have been a great. I mean, I think we would have won the Natty last year, and this year we'd have back-to-back Natties if we'd had Will all 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love Will, because he gets it and he's a competitor. That's why I want him. I want more people like him on his team. And Terry actually said that Will said he wouldn't mind living in Columbus after football, which tells you just how great of a place Columbus is for a lot of these guys.
Well, if you look what Ryan Day did for Will Howard, I mean, he fixed his mechanics and Will became such a better passer as the year went on because he fixed his footwork. So who knows what kind of stats Will would have put up last year or even the year, before that. I mean, heck, he could have won the Heisman.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think he could have won it this year, but we have such a terrible promoter in Jeremy Emick. To the point where it's like, yeah, I don't expect any of our players to win any awards unless these guys are playing so out of their mind. I mean, dude, JJ got passed for freshman of the year and the Bolitnikov winner, which was so stupid. I'm like, you know who the best freshman's been. You know who the best player is, and you still pass this guy over for 2 guys who haven't had as good of a freshman year as him. We're talking about a guy who already put himself who's being talked about in the media in the GOAT conversation, for God's sakes, already. So, like, what is we doing? Exactly.
They better start pushing JJ's Heisman race right now.
I would. And Troy V actually said it. Imagine that Will Howard studied under CJ Stroud for 2 years before becoming a starter. What could have been? Absolutely. Oh, if he studied under CJ, dude, he would have been something. I think I absolutely believe it.
You know what though? What made Will so good though was all his years of playing though. I mean, he played early at Kansas State. He had to go through all the trials and tribulations. I mean, he learned as he played, and he's well experienced when he got here. Ryan Day fixed his mechanics, and he became one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen at Ohio State.
No doubt in my mind, I absolutely think he would have been. If you also, I do want to also kind of touch into this as well, which is about the returning production. Because this is the other thing of why they think Ohio State falls off. I'm like, guys, the returning production is guys who played in the freaking Natty. They may not have been starters, but they played in big games. They rotated. They played in big games, and we got some stews in the coming in. Like Edric Houston is a freaking freak, man. And the more he played, like think about it, the more time he played, especially in big time games, he got more playing time in these big time games, especially in the Natty. Same with Cade McDonald, who I'm very confident with our D tackles. I am a little concerned about edge rusher because of depth, not necessarily because of the guys we have, but it's the depth part. And again, I can't blame Larry for that because a lot of the edge rushers we get tend to leave just because they don't like because of the money, obviously, but also they probably didn't like Jim Knowles' defense, especially with how much the players didn't like it. So, which will be understandable.
Only thing that worries me about K-Mac is he going to get in shape? He needs to get in shape, and he needs to be able to.
From what I understand, that's what he's doing. Being just like Tyreek, because they see him like Tyreek, because that was Tyreek's problem.
But they were playing Tyreek way too many snaps as they shouldn't have been playing him that much. But were they playing him that much because K-Mac couldn't go that much? So
pretty much.
That could have
and
been
think about it, K-Mac actually ended up going more. So clearly he's getting in there, putting in some work on his stamina. Clearly, because he got to play more this year. And that's what I like is when in Ohio State really do push their guys. So when you really think about it, I think Ohio State is I think K-Mac is going to be like Tyreek Williams. He's going to be our next Tyreek. Imagine.
I think him and Houston are going to be awesome at the tackles. I mean, we're going to need Tywan Malone to step up. Mensah or Chris Moore. I mean, Moore needs to step up too. Or is it Jason Moore?
Jason. I was about to say
Moore,
Jason.
not Chris Moore. Jason Moore. Jason Moore needs to step up. I mean, we've heard all great things about Jason Moore, but he kind of disappeared this year, which was kind of
But that's because of how much depth there is. Because remember, wasn't on the depth chart because we had too much depth. Because if you look at our D tackle, we got so much depth at D tackle right now. We do. We got a lot. So I think that he might be the third stringer, if I'm being honest. Like, I think because there's a chance he's going to get playing time, but he's going to be the third stringer still. But he'll probably get more playing time because it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. Because
we lost Hero too, so don't forget. Unless Hero comes back, which I hope.
There is a chance that he does. Because, again, the reason he left was because of Jim Knowles. And I ain't going to go into that. Y'all have heard me say it on the show repeated times. That's why he left. And he regrets leaving because he should have. Because if he had known he wasn't the DC, he would have stayed. And for him, and think about it for Hero Canoe, being coached by a Super Bowl winning coach. This is the other thing as well as to why people think we're going to have this downfall is, we lost Chip Kelly and Knowles. Okay, we replaced Chip Kelly. Like, first of all, we upgraded at DC. I believe we did. I think Penn State is going to get exposed by Ohio State come the November 1st game. I think Ohio State is going to expose Jim Knowles' defense because I think the biggest reason as to why it was good was because of the fact that that we had so many returning guys and so many NFL guys. And Jim Knowles definitely would have struggled this year with these type of guys because I don't know if any of them fit his system. So to be honest, I think if you really think about it, Jim Knowles' defense is going to get exposed at Penn State just because you ain't got the talent like that at Penn State. They got good talent, but it's not like Ohio State's where you got like consistent NFL talent across the secondary, the linebackers, and the D-line. Because when you think about Penn State, they always like think about it with Penn State. They always only have one good D-lineman, and it's the edge rusher. Ohio State knows that, and they plan to take him out because they know the rest of their D-line ain't nothing. And then you look at their linebackers, always have great linebackers, but they're just good edge rushers. That's it. That's what they're just good at pass rushing. And then their secondary, don't even get me started. They may have like one good secondary player until they go up against Ohio State receivers, and then it's like, oh, you be seeing these guys really ain't all that. Why do you think I think Ohio State is a straight up automatic W against Penn State? It's because of that alone.
Well, and they haven't been recruiting for his defense. So, I mean, they've been recruiting guys that fit a whole different scheme, not the scheme that, Knowles likes. So we'll have to see with them how they turn out. I mean, he might go there and change things up and, play to their strengths. But we know how Knowles is, stubborn and wants to do it his way or no way. So that's what made him leave here. So
Yeah, and trust me, Ryan Day wasn't playing that either. Like, he did not
No.
care. He's like, no, dude, you're gonna do it how I want you to do because I'm tired of your defense costing us games and big time games and your defensive game planning just being terrible. On top of that, that with Knowles, what's even worse for that is because you left your staff from Oklahoma State and Maggieri here. Like, they know your defense. So Ohio State knows your defense so well that they're going to know how to game plan for it easily.
You know, and I can honestly see where people are coming from, though, why they would think we would take a step back, losing Chip and, you know, Knowles. But like you said, you think it's going to be an upgrade on defense. I mean, I love Brian Hartline, don't get me wrong, but the guy does not have the experience calling plays. So we do not really know if the guy can call plays or not. And this is why
I think he can, because I think from what Ryan Day has said is he was great at calling passing plays. It was the running plays he didn't understand, and he's gotten better and better and better under the year he spent under Chip and Ryan, the more he spent in the room with them, and more importantly, this is why he hired Tyler Bowen, given his offensive coordinating experience, working with the quarterback, working with offensive lines, working with tight ends. And if you look at his run game at Virginia Tech, you know, that's why he's brought in here to help. And this is also why when you look at the other hires Ryan Day's made for the assistant side of things on the, you know, this is why he also hired him, because he knows Tyler's already got enough on his plate. So to help out with the offensive line continuous development, he hired people who are super experienced with that. And he's got LaCharles Bentley, I think, on a part-time training the offensive line in the offseason. And by the way, Terry, I think that myself and Sean could probably talk about this later, maybe in a different video, talk about the Texas-Ohio State matchup, because I would have to look and see. Because Texas lost just as much, if not more, than we did. So that would be interesting just talking.
The only advantage I see Texas having is having Arch Manning, because he played more than what Julian got to play. So I mean, they might have the advantage there. But other than that, I think it's pretty much we have the advantage.
Yep. And this is the other thing I will say when it comes down to it too, is people, when you look at the rankings for the top teams for 2025, everybody has Michigan in the top 3. Here's my question to all of you. Do you really believe Michigan will be a top 3 team next year?
No.
Do you really? And everybody in the chat, you can point it up too. Do you really think that? Because I know I don't. And I can break down every bit as to why they won't. And one of the arguments they will try to make is their recruiting class. And I will point this out. None of those guys are going to be there when the hammer drops. That's what I'm going to tell you now. They're not going to be there. I promise you.
How many of those guys are going to start? Yeah, they got, let's say all those guys stay. They got a great young offensive line class coming in. But we all know that it takes a couple of years for them guys to develop. They're not going to start right away.
Right.
I mean, you're banking on Underwood?
That's what they're banking on. That's their biggest reasoning, is they think Underwood's going to be this big superstar. And I'm like, are y'all slow?
do I think Mikey Keene's a big upgrade of what they had before? Yes, I do. I liked Mikey Keene when I saw him at Fresno State. I thought he was a pretty good quarterback for being, a Fresno State quarterback. I think he was a heck of a lot better than Davis Warren. So do I think they upgraded there? Yeah, but you know what? You also got a new offensive coordinator coming in too. So that's a whole new offense they got to learn. Yep. So that's not the same Michigan offense.
And it's not like it's that great of an offense, because I get that people would talk about, like, well, look at what happened with Drake May. It's like, guys, Drake May was already developed. That dude just took over for what was already there. Okay, like, I haven't seen him develop a quarterback, and this is my first time even hearing of him. And from what I understand from his resume, then when I looked it up, it's not that impressive. It's decent, but no, it's an upgrade definitely from what they had, but it ain't saying much.
And Ryan Day's Beard's got a great point. They don't have the receivers. I mean, who's gonna step up for them? They don't have any 5-star, any stud receivers. Samarge Morgan. I mean, come on.
You know what's super funny? They think that they got a chance with some receivers in the recruiting just because they got Bryce Underwood. It's like, guys, they don't. Because first of all, there's a great chance Bryce isn't staying. He's hated Michigan. And think about how desperate Michigan was to try to get him. You don't think Bryce Underwood had to put a clause in that contract that he gets to keep that money if he transfers? Because think about it. He knows how desperate they are. Because you know he hates you. He's hated you since middle school. And he's never, ever liked you. He's talked trash about you. He crapped on your development with quarterbacks. And you still paid to get the guy. Like, if Taven St. Clair did that, he ain't coming here. If he hated Ohio State, and I'm just using Taven as an example because he's an Ohio guy, and obviously we all know Bryce is from the state of Michigan. But think about that. Like, if Taven St. Clair hated Ohio State and he talked that bad about Ohio State, he talked that kind of trash, you think Ohio State getting him? No, they're not even bringing him in. They will ignore him.
What's funny is they all dogged him. All the media, all the fans said, well, we don't need him. He's not a team first guy. Oh, he's just worried about the money. We don't want him. We don't need him. Then all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah, and then you see the tone change.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to hear a Michigan fan because I do see
Hypocrites.
First before I go to him. How many of our starting receivers would start at Ohio State? How many receivers on any other team would start at Ohio State? Not many. I can think of Ryan Williams would be one, but other
Marsh,
than him, I can't
Marsh from Michigan State might start over in this.
Maybe. Yeah, I think him too. Yeah, Nick Marsh. Actually, Michigan State got some really good receivers, but Nick Marsh might be the one.
I mean, Marsh is a stud.
Him and Ryan Williams, and those are the only two I can think of right now. Because I can't think of any other school. Like every other school, you probably would be like the fifth guy on the depth chart, fifth or sixth.
I mean, I could see where, you know, people are worried about the production that we got coming back, but I'm not really worried because you got Carnell Tate and you got JJ. And it's played a lot. People's got plenty of time in the, you know, and as mop up time. Plus he looked good running the ball. So I'm not worried about Peoples. And I am not worried about Max Clare, who's probably going to be an All-American, first team All-American this year. So
yeah, and by the way, from Mays, man, like listen here, we're talking about you because you guys have popped up in the news again with your sign stealing, and then we're also talking about why people think you're going to be a top 3 team for whatever reason. And like Steely pointed out, you always talk about Ohio State, especially Michigan. Y'all talk about us when it's not even provoked. We talk about you when it's provoked, as in you come up in the news. Anytime you come up in the news is the time we talk about you. And y'all been in the news for everything, for every wrong reason.
I'll tell you what, though, out of all scum fans, Michigan people, Mays Madman, Johnny O, and Maniac, those guys are all right in my book. They'll come in, they'll stand in the paint, they'll say something, and if they're wrong, they'll stand there and take it. So,
by the way, Maze Man, Maze Man, let me ask you a question. How would you feel if you knew that if your games get taken away, you're behind Ohio State all time in wins? So y'all can't brag about that no more. You're way below 1,000, and you're way behind Ohio State at that point.
Now, I got a question though. If they take all those wins away, then they get back to 1,000 again. Are they going to have another party?
Not unless Ohio State gets to it before them, which is more likely to happen. And let's be real, if they get to 1,000 again, it'll probably be in the next 6, 7, 8 decades, because they're going to be bad for years to come. Because what the NCAA want to do to them, from what I understand, from what I've been hearing, the NCAA want to F them up bad. Like we talk about worse than what they did to USC. And I got to tell people what they did to USC. I mean, look at USC now. They're not the same program they once were. They're not.
They've had one good year since Pete Carroll left.
Yep.
And that was
that's it, man.
Matt Barkley 1 year. I mean, honestly, let's wait and see. But it's supposed to be coming up this next month, so we'll wait and see. I mean, hey, a lot of people say hammer's not coming. A lot of us say the hammer is. Well, we'll wait and see what happens.
Oh, no, it is, because believe Buckeye Scoop, believe Justin Spiro, believe those guys over anybody else. They're always right, and they've been right about the whole thing. I
mean, Spiro's been bad in 1,000, so is Buckeye Scoop on that stuff. So that's what I tend to believe. The people who are right. I mean, if they're wrong,
always believe them.
Yeah, exactly.
That when they're right, they're right. If they're wrong, they admit it too. Like they're not like the Michigan beat either, or some of these other crazy beats like ESPN and all these other places. Because that'd be the thing to be killing me. It's like, y'all know y'all wrong, but you don't want to admit it.
Now, if there's anything that we should worry about production-wise, what group do you think it would be out of? Do you think the running backs are the are probably the weakest link coming back, or do you think tight ends, receivers, quarterback? What do you think's the weakest link in the offense?
I would, you always got to worry about the quarterback, but I think, Denzel Burke said Julian saying the guy, and I believe that too. I would have to say running back. I don't think any other position is weak other than defensive edge rushers. The only other position I would worry about more so than, again, running backs just because of depth. But with Kenyatta and Kane McDonald, Curry, we know what those two guys are. I just want to see, and I think running backs until they show us. Even though I believe we're going to have an outstanding running back room again, it's not going to be like what we had last year, but it's going to be close. It's going to be really good. I do believe that, but that's always going to be a position group you're going to have to worry about. To me,
and I tell you what, I think Donald CJ is going to be a good complementary back, but I don't think he's going to carry the load like we think. I think he's going to be more of goal line. A lot of people think he's going to get, kind of like it was this year with Quinshawn and Trey, that they split 50-50. I don't think it's going to be that way. I think Peoples is going to take the bulk of it. And I think,
I think it will be.
Change of pace.
I think it will be 50-50 just because I don't think Ohio State wants to run James into the ground. Plus, I think you're going to see some of Sam Williams-Dixon. You're going to see them kind of get some other guys. And by the way, Maze Madman, Ryan Day, and Jim Harbaugh. He's not Sharon Moore. Like, he's not some of y'all dog crap coaches y'all have had over the years. And I'll tell you this. If I was to tell you, Michigan fans, that y'all might have sparked the Ohio State dynasty, that the losses to y'all is what Ohio State needed, because in reality, I think this program was on life support long beforehand. The reason why I say that is because we've had teams that could win the Natty, but we never did. Because I think we experienced a little bit too much early success that took a lot of pressure off the team. And I think if Ryan Day, for him, and I think for this program, beating Michigan isn't enough anymore. Like, you guys are not the end-all, be-all of anything anymore. Winning a national title is. And if you ask every single coach, especially SEC coaches, they would tell you Jim Harbaugh is not the coach Ryan Day is. They think Jim Harbaugh is a joke. I'm telling you straight up. He's a joke. Same with Sharon Moore. They don't fear those guys. They fear Ryan Day because they see he could become one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's got the potential to do it. He could be the next Saban. He could put Ohio State in a different stratosphere. I mean, when you talk to Georgia, when y'all won the Natty, Georgia fans talk so much ish about Michigan, talk about how weak y'all are, because they believe they could have beat your ass in the playoffs. They do. They say it the one team they don't want to face. And that's every team in the SEC, especially Georgia. The one team Kirby and them don't want to face is Ohio State. That's the one team they don't want to see. That's the one team they're scared of.
If you look, Ryan Day had a couple bad bounces the first couple years in his. I mean, that's the way football is. I mean, some games.
I mean, he's lost to juggernauts. He's lost to juggernauts. It's not that big.
He didn't lose to Iowa or Purdue or any teams like that. What do you lose to? Clemson, which was stacked and kind of got screwed by the refs. And you had the targeting call, took Marvin out of the game against Georgia. And if you look in that Georgia game, we were down to our fifth string running back. We had two offensive linemen out, and we still almost beat the best team in the league that year. I mean,
yeah.
And we should have won. We should have if they didn't take Marvin out.
Yeah, that's what's funny. I mean, and that's the best thing too, because that's how much Ryan Day cares about his team. And like I said, for the boys in blue here, because they're really going at it in the chat. Them and the Buckeye boys fans, they really kind of going at it. But the thing is when you talk about Ohio State and Michigan and this whole rivalry that we have, it doesn't really mean anything. And I'm gonna put his little crap.
We were undefeated against SEC this year.
Yeah, we did. We are undefeated. They're not, because they went 1-1. Remember, they got their ass beat by Texas. I'm talking about Michigan.
Oh,
I mean, like, they got their ass beat by Texas this year, then beat Bama. We went undefeated against the SEC this year, because remember, we're 2-0. We beat Tennessee and we beat Texas. And again, I'm not even gonna lie too, that when it comes down to it, the rivalry, if Ohio State can lose the rivalry game and they don't have to, like, worry about winning it as much, that's something they've always wanted. Because it's like, okay, we don't got to worry about this anymore, because think about who this hurts more than Ohio State and Michigan when it comes to this rivalry, when it comes to this 12-team playoff. It hurts Michigan more than it hurts Ohio State, because Ohio State's been the most relevant brand. And I'm gonna really hurt your Michigan fans by telling you your brand really ain't a blue blood. Like, the only reason it's a blue blood is because of Ohio State. It's the sole reason why this program is a blue blood, because without Ohio State, y'all nothing. Y'all nothing. This rivalry is what's kept y'all relevant. If anything, it's what's kept you in the headlines, just because of where the rivalry is. But it's because of Ohio State. Because we've been so big as a brand, like, we're bigger than the whole, like, we're the face of the Big Ten, whether you want to admit it or not. Because ask Fox, ask CBS, ask NBC. What is the biggest reason they have contracts with the Big Ten? Because they want Ohio State games. NBC wants them 7 o'clock games for Ohio State. CBS, they want the 3:30 games, and obviously, Fox want them noon games. I mean, think about it. Ohio State has 28 straight noon games. Michigan has like 10. Penn State has 12, and every other team has like single digits after that. So, like, there's no other team. And when you pretty much look at your former head coaches, like, look at y'all record against top 10 teams. They suck worse. Y'all can't coach for nothing. At least Ohio State got some coaches that can win, for God's sakes.
You want to talk about
cheating scandal to do that?
Well, I'll talk about Ryan Day. Ryan Day was a first-time head coach. Look at what he did as his first coach. I mean, first-time head coach.
6 years.
Yes, and 6 years. Take his 6 years against Harbaugh's first 6 years at Michigan.
He did nothing, and we can show you it too. I know Sean. He's got it. I know for a fact he can show you.
2 playoff wins, 2 bowl wins the whole time he was at Michigan. 2, and guess what? Those are both under suspicion.
No, Maze, I think you're taking what I'm saying out of context. I said in reality, you're not, because y'all ain't done nothing in 80 years. You ain't won nothing legitimate. You ain't done nothing legitimate. You haven't done anything in 80 years. Name me what, like, the only thing y'all have is like the 1948 championship. That's the solo natty y'all want. And then you got that 1979 shared championship, which really is shit.
97.
97, whatever. I don't care. It's an irrelevant title.
They are a blue blood. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they are one of the original blue bloods, but they haven't been relevant.
I know what you mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, in reality, because if you listen to Kangaroo Black, he basically talked about it. In reality, when you think of blue bloods, like, who's been the most disappointing type of blue blood? Texas. Like, why do we consider guys who, because when you have this long of a dead period where you ain't won nothing, like, think about it like this. Y'all ain't won nothing compared to Texas. Like, at least Texas won a natty this century. Like, what have y'all won? Y'all haven't won anything in 80 years. You had to cheat to get there. You had to cheat. And y'all admitted you had to do it because you wanted to get to where Ohio State is, because you know you're not there. We competed for 9 natties total, and this century competed for 6 and won 3. What have y'all competed for exactly? Name me, like, seriously, Maze, man, and any, Michigan fan in the chat, please name me, before the cheating scandal, what have y'all done? Y'all have been irrelevant. You have been, if you look at your record, kind of close to the bottom of the Big Ten at times. You've only had like 2 good years under Jim Harbaugh. Every other year, you guys have been like mid-tier or below that. Like, you guys were usually the 5th best team in the Big Ten East, like 4th or 5th. You were always behind Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, and then you were behind some other team. And overall in the Big Ten, you were behind like, what, 7 other teams out of the 14? So, like, what have y'all done? Y'all have done nothing. You've been irrelevant for so long, and the only thing you can cling to relevancy is the rivalry game, which is why I say Ohio State stopped giving a damn about it. It hurts y'all more than us, because
I wouldn't say we stopped giving it.
No, I don't think I'm not saying they're not, but I say imagine if Ohio State didn't. Just imagine what that would do to Michigan. They go back to irrelevancy, because I look at Oregon as our next great rivalry. Now, if they could get a culture, they could probably win a natty. But them plus any other team, I mean, if USC could ever get its crap together, they would have been the next great rival. Or say, because there's news about Notre Dame joining the Big Ten, with how good they've been, they could be the next rival.
With like, Marcus Freeman being the coach and a former Buckeye.
Yeah, that would be fun. especially because both programs hate Michigan. Just like Michigan State and Ohio State. All of us hate them. And guess what? Michigan is the most hated. You see, Ohio State used to be the most hated on program in the Big Ten because of how good we are. Everybody wants to get to where Ohio State is. But when you look at Michigan, they've become hated because of their cheating scandal. So not everybody want to kick their ass. And everybody's hoping that the NCAA hammers them so bad that they're practically one of the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. That's what everybody hoping happen. And rightfully so, because you deserve it. You're cheaters. You haven't earned anything. You haven't won anything. You haven't done nothing. Nothing you guys do. Because when you talk about Ohio State's natty, it's legitimate. You can't talk that way about Michigan's. When you talk about our natty, do you see an investigation? And also, by the way, just for Michigan fans to realize, y'all on your 3rd representative with the NCAA. Now you're trying to have a settlement, and it's way too late for that. Because you're at the point where in the next 120 days, from what Nevada Buck said, you're finna get hammered like crazy. And I bet my money, because the NCAA does this in a smart manner to screw Michigan in every facet, that they don't give you the punishment until the transporter closes. Do you know why? Because they know you can't get anybody out of the portal at that point. Your guys can transfer, but y'all can't get nobody. So that's why, because the rules are, if a program gets hit with sanctions, the players can transfer. But the program can't get nobody out of the portal if the portal closes. So that's why they would do that, because it would be to screw y'all. And guess what? It's not over for you either, because you got a 3rd NOA coming regarding the gambling cookie and the little hacking scandal y'all got going on too. So it ain't even over for y'all even once this ends. It's not even over.
I mean, 5-1 level violations.
6.
6. Your repeat offender status. I mean, not going to be pretty. I mean, no matter what happens.
I mean, Maze, you don't have to like it, but it's true, dude, because you're really going to get it. And like I said, the NCAA is going to do it to where y'all can't get nobody out the portal. They're trying to screw you. And like I said, it ain't over for y'all, Maze, Madman. Y'all got another NOA coming about the hacking, which when that comes out, that's going to be so freaking ooh. And the gambling cookies. That's going to come out. That NOA is going to hit y'all at some point. That's when Nevada Bucks see it. So...
What they tried getting Tennessee on was NIL stuff. So,
yeah, and I don't care how much money Michigan spends on NIL either, because if you've noticed with Texas A&M, it don't work. Not unless you got the coaches and you got the right players. Because when kids want to come to your school for money, they ain't staying there. Especially if you got sanctions, because they got stuff they want to do.
When kids are motivated by money, that's bad.
That's always bad.
Yeah.
Like I will always say, screw y'all. Sean, is there something else you want to add to?
TG, for a minute, why don't you really tell us how you really feel? Come on. I don't think you told everybody how you really feel about Michigan.
Oh, no. I hate it.
Come on.
Let me be real when I say this. I never had this much animosity for them until this cheating scandal, because I always found out something was so suspicious, and it's made me hate these guys so much worse than I already did. It's to a point where I don't even want Ohio State taking these guys seriously. I want them to go into irrelevancy to a point where Ohio State don't even treat them like their rivals, to a point where Ohio State just treat them like dog crap and just put their program into straight up oblivion. That's how much I hate these assholes. I hope a meteor hits that place to a point where it just completely blows up. Because I didn't hate Michigan like that. I hated them because they were the rival, but I didn't hate them like that.
I'll tell you what's changed for me. I lost respect for them. Before, I hated them, but I respected them. After what Harbaugh did, I lost all respect for them.
That was for me, too. It's like, damn, I had so much respect for y'all, and then you screw that up.
But, I mean, they did win this year. I mean, as much
that's the only relevant win that they'll have.
But, hey, I was wrong. I mean, they came out and won it this year. There's no doubt about it. But
that's because Ohio State shot themselves in the foot. Let's be honest about that one. We did it to ourselves. Like, they didn't do nothing special.
No.
It's like...
They all win. And that which sucks for us.
And like I said, I think it might have been beneficial because one of the former Ohio State players basically said it strengthened their brotherhood when they lost that game. And I see it basically confirmed that loss was needed for Ohio State. It was needed. Because, in my opinion, I don't think they go on to win the Natty if they do beat Michigan.
I mean, they could have won. I mean, if you look, they could have went to the Big Ten championship game and lost to Oregon again. I
Yeah,
mean,
they could
that
have.
could have
But
that could have happened.
but
I
let's
mean,
be honest. Yeah, that's true. And it could have motivated them, but you never know though. That's what I'm saying. That Michigan loss was so important because their backs were against the wall. And like I see it, I think that with that Michigan loss, it may have helped this program years down the line to a point where we could have a dynasty. Like as much as Michigan fans want to talk about Ryan Day, like yeah, you could beat Ohio State, but will Ohio State care anymore if it's telling them we can still go to the Big Ten title, or better yet, we don't even have to go to the Big Ten title. We can still go win natties. And if they do, how much do you think that would hurt Michigan? A lot, because y'all brag about that. Because Ohio State could basically say, well, of course it makes sense that you guys brag about it. We're your Super Bowl and always have been and always will be. Because you're not ours. Our Super Bowl is the natty. That's it.
that's still the game we need to win. I mean, it doesn't have like it sucks now because the way that college football has changed it, that it's not the end all be all like it used to be, which is nice too. I mean, you can screw up once or twice in the season and still have a chance to win a natty, but it's just, let's face it, the game doesn't mean as much as it used to. I mean, I still never want to lose to those guys again. I mean, I despise them, but I mean, this year proved, you can slip up and still go and win a natty. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. And again, I know Dev wanted to kind of keep this under, but when you got this much kind of stuff, this kind of news coming out, the other set of news that I did see was about some recruits that we might be on the hunt for, and I do want to do a pre-recorded video talking about how these idiots just just try it with Ohio State all the time, and I'm talking about particularly the recruiting sites, especially on 3. I really want to get into that, but I'm not going to. So this game, I'll say this, that when it comes to the recruits that we're on track for, it seems like Ohio State's in good positions with a lot of them. And more importantly, I will say that Ohio State, they've taken a different recruiting strategy. And yeah, we all know the O-line they've taken since we got Tyler Bowen. But I'm talking about they're probably going to start taking less 5 stars, like 1 to 2 5 stars at each position, and take like the 4-star guys, and then take like the developmental guys that they can sell on the on the development part, so that way they can keep guys around longer.
wow. And let's just, everybody kind of gets into the recruiting right now. Let's just remember this. It's a long way away before signing day. I mean, let's face it. There's a lot can change between now and, next, December. So these next year's classes, I mean, and I guarantee there will be a few guys that aren't even being talked about right now that are going to shoot up the boards after they play their senior year. So
yeah, some of them. And I want to talk about the combine. So who are you confident in, Sean, as far as the combine?
I think a lot of our guys are going to test well, like Denzel Burke. He's a freak. Lathan Ransom, he's a freak. JTT, Jack Sawyer, Cody Simon. I think all these guys are going to score extremely high. I mean, I think then you have guys like Hamilton. I think he'll help his stock because he was kind of an unsung hero, but if people watch his game tape, he was always consistent and he always did his job, and you never had to worry about him. And them the kind of guys that you need on your football team.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what do you think G. Scott and Josh Fryer would do at the pro day since they didn't get invited?
I think they will either be like a 7th round pick invited to camps. I mean, maybe a 6th round pick. I think Fryer will have a better shot at making a roster than G. Scott will because he can play multiple positions at guard or tackle. And
I think both of them got a shot just because G. Scott is promising a tight end. Like let's be honest. Like G can't play tight end. I don't think he'll be a superstar, but he'll be like what all the other Ohio State tight ends are, which is productive and serviceable. Like that's what he'll be. And I do think the word of Josh Fryer too. I
think Fryer will make a squad, at least as a practice squad player. I think what might hurt G that he's going to really have to work on is his blocking. 'Cause
He's actually gotten better at blocking. Like, that's the best thing about it. That's why he's been putting on the weight. That's why he's been working. Because if you saw as the season went on, he was blocking like crazy. Even
he
the
got
defensive
better,
ends. Even defensive ends, I was shocked. I was like, okay, go, G, let's go.
but to take that next step, he's gonna have to continue to work. Do I think he it's possible that he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's gonna be another Antonio Gates? No, but could he make a squad and play a few years? Yeah, he could.
Yeah, and this is the other thing too, by the way, with Troy. It's true, but here's the one thing you need to know as well. When Michigan players go to the NFL, you can tell that they're cheaters because these guys typically don't play well. At least from the 21 to 23 team in Michigan in the NFL, they have absolutely sucked.
What
in
guys?
The NFL. And think about it this year too. These guys, like, they had 13 guys drafted from their 23 team that won the Natty. Do you know how many of them are still on the roster?
I would guess 7.
5. With soon to be 4. Soon to be 4 once Zach Zinner gets cut. Or if they let him out. Like, I don't know if to cut him, but they might, because he's that bad. That bad.
I am a big Browns fan, like some of you know, and I was actually happy that they drafted Zinter, and I watched him play a few games this year, and he looked like dog crap.
Yeah, he's trash. And you saw with what's his name? What is this dude? This D tackle, Mozzie Smith.
Yeah,
he's trash. Like, dude, once you cheat, bro, you can't hide it. And that's what happened with a lot of the players. They did get cut from the 13 guys they drafted. They had 8 players cut because these dudes sucked.
I think Sanders still was the only one that had a decent year, wasn't he? Who? And he was still getting to Mikey Sanders, still the safety for the Commanders. I think he
had a decent year. He wasn't great, but he had a decent year. So, like, he's a serviceable, but he's not like anything special.
Besides Hutchinson, out of the last 3 years, who has come out of Michigan that has done anything? Nico Collins was already graduated by then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, the last 3 years, who has come out of Michigan and did anything in the NFL? Seriously.
Yeah, if you think about it too,
besides Hutchinson.
When you think about it too, like J.J. McCarthy, we know he's destined to hold a clipboard for the rest of his career. So, like, he's like, this goes into the thing that Michigan can't develop quarterbacks.
Chase Winovich, he never amounted to anything. That Ajabo, he blew his knee out, so he never amounted to anything. All these offensive linemen they claim are great. I don't know how many of them are even starting for a team.
Not many of them. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Ohio State has the most offensive and defensive linemen starting in the NFL, and they're among the highest paid as well.
So,
so that's what's so upsetting for Michigan. It's like, oh, well, we're offensive line. You are you? Because why do you not have offensive linemen in the NFL even near as good as Ohio State's? That's what's even more frustrating. And not only that, but I think you guys have like 38 total players, while Ohio State has damn near 60. And the only team above Ohio State is Bama.
Well, I got a kick out of it this year because a certain podcast said that Ohio State doesn't develop any offensive linemen or defensive linemen, that they're all trash.
Please tell me which podcast this was.
The Bozo Brigade said that, and they also said that.
Of course, some bozos.
Of course, they also said McCord would win a national championship if he was with Michigan this year too. So.
No, they wouldn't, and they know they wouldn't. He sucked, bro. Ohio State fans we only defended this guy for the fact he was a Buckeye, but we all knew he sucked. Yep. We all knew it. Okay, he was trash. And also, like, for Michigan, you can even put up the stats because it's out there that Ohio State has more offensive linemen starting and the defensive line as well. Like, all their players are trash. And this is another reason why people believe they cheated, because it's like, how is it that Ohio State has dominant players in the NFL, but Michigan don't? Like, y'all beat Ohio State, this, that, and the other. And it's like, y'all look so dominant in college, which almost either affirms A, it's true that the college game is nothing like the NFL, or B, you really did cheat. Because there's no way you stink this bad. And you can't hide it because you can tell they can't read. Like, Will Johnson talking about he's the best DB in the draft. And it's like, no, you're not, dude. Like, you're not. Like, here's the thing. Are you going to be able to read an offense and do what you do? Because you can't hide that in the NFL. You can't. Because if you've seen your brothers in the NFL, they suck, nigga.
I mean, let's just call it like it is, man. They have not had good pro players come out of that school in a long time. I mean, we're going to have another first round draft pick lineman this year, Simmons. I mean, when's the last time a first round that Michigan had a first round draft pick besides a skilled position come out there? I mean, they had McCarthy last year. Let's face it, every year a team reaches for a quarterback that shouldn't be a first round draft pick. Every year a GM reaches where he shouldn't reach, and they overdraft somebody that's usually a bust. I mean, there's countless first round bust quarterbacks that we could have pages of it and sit here for days talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, we could do like a whole like little different like pre-recording as well on that.
We could probably do a week of it, you know.
Yeah, like that would be great discussion, because I mean, if you really be honest, and Tyler, I know you don't want him to, you better hope they don't, because some of these NFL teams, they're stupid. But like I said, if they catch on to this, like again, if they see how Michigan players are in the NFL, you would realize is Blake Corum at least decent enough where he can stay serviceable enough where he can stay on the roster? Yes, but I don't think he's a starting running back in the NFL. I think he's more of a special teams type guy, which hey, that fits him. Roman Wilson, he might end up being decent at receiver. I don't know, and Colston Loveland, here's the thing, like he may be like a special tight end because people think he's this generational tight end. I'm like, no, he's not. He may be great at pass catching, but he's worse than G. Scott at blocking. He's a pussy when it comes to blocking. Let's be honest about that one. He is. He's a complete pussy when it comes to blocking. He is. He's a complete wuss. Like, he cannot block for nothing. Like, he's worse than G. And G actually got better at it as the season went on. I would take G over him, because at least G played wide receiver, and the dude has the potential when it comes to blocking. Like, if you just want a pass catching tight end, go ahead, get him. But it's like, you want an all around tight end, someone close to that? I'd take G over him just because of that.
I wouldn't take it. I mean, Loveland's a good spread out guy. I mean, he's going to get you mismatches.
Put him in a slot then. Put him in a slot then. It's a slot.
I mean, he'll be a guy that you line up at tight end, but he's not really going to block. He's just going to go out and he's going to, go be a guy that a linebacker cover him and he'll burn a linebacker. I mean,
it depends on the linebacker too, because I'm not gonna lie, I've watched some of our linebackers, they were able to cover him. Like, I think it depends on the type of linebacker. Like, when you look at like Georgia's linebackers, I bet you they could cover Colston Loveland. I mean, we saw Texas's do it to him as well. So like, if you got them type of linebackers, they could cover him.
But tonight, TG, you've been on fire, girl.
Thanks.
Cooking
I see it. Everybody in the chat
cooking tonight.
Yeah, that's just because, hey, look, when it comes to news and you're talking about this false narrative, I'm going to call you out and I'm going to cook you on it. I love doing that. That's the thing that's always irritated me. This is why I wanted to come on podcast, because it's like, I'm sick of these idiots on the national media. Like, I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of some of these idiotic podcasters. It's time to call out the narrative. We need to call this out and call it how it is. Because can I call it for what I see that Ryan Day lost the Michigan game? Absolutely, because I was ticked after that. But I didn't give up on him. However, that doesn't mean Michigan did anything special, because we all know they still suck. And they're going to suck for years to come. Like, I know Juck talked about what they did in the recruiting, but you have to remember, Texas A&M did the same thing. They freaking sucked as a football team.
Hey,
it's like they're not going to be no good program, and once the sanctions hit, they're going to be down to just trash.
The
they're
thing is,
back to irrelevance.
You got to have more than 1 year of good recruiting to make
more
it.
Than one. Yeah.
You know.
And again, with the sanctions coming to them, I don't think they will. And more importantly, I think because here's the other thing too. Because for Michigan, if I'm a recruit, I can punk Michigan out of money. I can pimp these niggas, telling them, if you want me to come to your school, give me $20 million. They will, because they're that desperate. And you saw it with Bryce Underwood, a guy that hated them, a guy from their own state, an in-state prospect hated them.
Lives 20 minutes down the road. 20 minutes down the road.
Literally 20 minutes, and he did not want to go there. He was talking all kinds of mess about them. He hated them since middle school. And yet they still paid him to come here. So that shows you how desperate they are. And it shows that as a recruit, you can take advantage of them. You can get your money, then peace out.
I mean, honestly, you'd have to think, okay, he lives 20 minutes from here. He's talking nothing but crap about us, how we don't develop anybody. And we had to give him $20 million to get here. Is he really going to lay it on the line for us?
No.
Is he going to put all he's got into the school?
No. No, that's the funny part is with these people thinking, oh, especially the Michigan fans, because they think they're going to be back. And it's like, dude, he's not going to lay it on the line for you. I don't even think he's starting this year. I don't think he's going to take a snap. I think he's going to want to sit out and he's going to want to collect his money because he can. And guess what? He knows he can do that before these rules that the Big Ten, the SEC, and some of these other conferences are trying to put in regarding NIL money. Like, they're going to do that. And he's going to try to take advantage of it as much as he can. And then he's going to leave. He's going to head back to LSU because I believe he told Brian Kelly, hey, listen, I'm going to go to Michigan to take this money, but you can expect me to come back to LSU at some point when I'm ready. Once I get this money, I'm coming right back.
If he does.
I'm coming right to LSU.
If he does that, then we got to have a special pod for it just to laugh at him.
Just to laugh at him, especially because, like I said, he's not going to put his all into that program. He don't care. He don't like y'all. None of the recruits like y'all. They're just there for the money. That's just truthful.
And it just makes me laugh how hypocritical that fan base is, how arrogant they are, how ignorant they are. They sat there and they did nothing but dog that kid when he committed to LSU, saying we don't need him. He's all about the money. He's not the kind of guy we want here. We play team football. This is what this team's about.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay.
Oh, and think about it too. Remember, don't forget that. Don't forget they were dogging us on the narrative. Oh well, we develop. we develop. We don't buy teams. Remember that whole thing? And then y'all go out and you buy a team. You're the biggest spenders in all of college football right now. So miss me with that.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is we had three guys that weren't developed playing in the national championship. We had Will Howard, we had Quinshawn, and we had Iggy. Those were the three guys. I mean, Caleb. The three guys that weren't developed at Ohio State.
Well, I actually consider Caleb like a guy who, because he wanted to come to Ohio State, but he just went to Saban again. Like, they always tell these story. And I think he is getting developed at Ohio State again. Yep. And I will also say this when it comes to Michigan. We already know that people like Steve Wilfong talk about how they can like develop 3 stars and put them in the NFL and this, that, and the other. I'm like,
we put more 3 stars in than anybody.
We're number 1 at doing that. Ohio State's number 1. Michigan's barely in the top 25. Yeah. So that narrative is going to change real quick just because it's like, I mean, they put it up there. Like, the numbers are up there. How many schools have done this? And Michigan's barely in the top 25. They're not in the top 15. Like, you have schools way ahead of them. Even schools in the SEC, for its sake. Like, other schools in the Big Ten, other schools in the SEC, they do it more. Even Penn State. So, like, and think about it, too. When it comes to recruits, Michigan isn't even the most recognizable brand. No. They're in the top 25, but they're barely recognizable. Like, we're the most recognizable. Then it's Bama, then it's Georgia. Penn State's ahead of them. Oregon's ahead of them. Notre Dame's ahead of them. Like, you have a bunch of teams ahead of them. So, like, nah, who cares about Michigan? Like, it shows you how irrelevant you are because no one cares.
Well, TG, it's 7:00.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's pretty much, well, for me, it's 6, but for y'all, it's 7. Yeah. And it's about time for Buckeye Scoops. So, start off with you, Sean. You got any final words?
I just like to thank everybody in the chat that came in and supported us like always. We appreciate all you guys. You guys come in, and if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here, and you guys support us, and we love you guys. It just wouldn't be the same without you guys. So thank you for coming in like always. And TG, it's like always, it's a blast getting to hang with you and chop up some football for an hour or so.
Yeah, it's great being with you guys. I love all of y'all. I love coming on here. And more importantly, I think it's going to be real fun for us in the future for us to keep doing this because this is going to be fun, especially going into next season, talking about what we think of the team. And I think you guys are also going to see more pre-record videos from here on out about topics that we want to talk about. So until then, you guys enjoy the show. Keep share, and subscribe. Help our channel grow. Help us get more viewers. Hey, help us expand the channel, y'all. We can keep doing this, and it'll be fun for everyone. So on that note, we're going to say goodnight to everybody. Have a great night, everyone. OH.
I-O.